So Scomi is one of those companies that seem to get things right but never seem to make it work.
Looked like they had it all. Yeah.
Is it a case of bad luck or bad management? Because, looking at their projects, the projects either, they get cancelled or they get finished halfway, and they were supposed to be affiliated to the previous administration. So what is going on at Scomi?
Pana's son has some shares there.
Kamaludin, yep.
I don't think anyone really knows what happened unless you're with Scomi. But there were a lot of delays. If you read the Indian papers, the Brazilian papers, then maybe you'll see that there were delays, there were a lot of problems.
Rail projects.
With their rail projects. Their oil and gas, I guess, you can say the price of oil fell and all that. But they did have an RSC, but that also, I don't know what happened to that. Their rail projects other than Mumbai, I don't think anything else really took off. But there were a lot of plans, hell of a lot of plans. What I heard from some people inside was that they didn't plow money back into the company. A lot of it was given out as dividends in the earlier years. If you check and see, it's true also when they sold their machine shop, paid dividends. Not very little money came back in,
Yeah.
And I think they got whacked with currency as well, currency fluctuations.
I mean, speaking of paying dividends, so they've been loss-making for the past, 10 quarters, but before that, they were constantly paying dividends. Why didn't they put back money into the company instead?
God knows. You don't know. I don't know what happened at the management level.
Okay.
But it's sad to see it like this, and now they haven't paid their staff in few months, So it's quite a sad state. And if they do fall into PN17, it's very, very sad because they were
they
one
used to be very strong. Yep.
Yeah, I remember I went to India with them. They were saying things like they were one of 3 monorail players in the world.
So speaking of their monorail projects, like the one in Brazil, we don't know much about it. What is going on?
There were a lot of delays.
Okay.
And I think it was supposed to be for the World Cup, but Brazil itself had some issues also, I think. And in the meantime, the currency fluctuation. Their partners were Almeida, if I'm not mistaken, quite strong. But that's the thing, you see, we don't really know what happened. If you read the Brazilian papers, the Indian papers, you will see that there were a lot of issues. I think in Mumbai, there was even a fire.
Yeah.
But of course, we don't hear about that here, you see. But over there, it's quite rampant, it comes out a lot. So we don't really know what happened.
So 2 units of Scomi, Scomi Engineering and Scomi Transit Projects Brazil, will be placed under judicial management. Will this help Scomi?
I guess it sort of gives them a buffer. But the bottom line is, you see, now you need to raise funds.
Okay.
Scomi Group needs to raise funds. But how do you do it now? Like there was supposed to be a rights issue.
And a private placement which never took off.
There's supposed to be a private placement, sorry. It's, they were talking about Hong Kong party, Chinese party, But if I'm not mistaken, it's about 20 over cents, what they were looking at. But now it's trading at 6 cents. So how much of a placement are you going to have to do to raise a significant amount?
Correct.
So it's tough. It looks, and you see, as I mentioned there, the shareholders, are not some chalang fellas, You've got some big names there, So are they going to agree to a placement, or they might ask for a rights issue instead? Saying, why you want to dilute us? Let us also go with it,
There seems to be drama among, investors and associates like IJM, for example, which, according to your story, they are very open to exit Scomi as a shareholder. Because when we look at the value of IJM's stake in Scomi, it has shrunk so much. So whatever is happening at Scomi, I mean, if you've spoken to investors or shareholders, what do they feel about things?
Actually, Scomi is off the radar now, Nobody talks about it. There was a time when, Scomi was big news, projects everywhere and all, but after a while, there were a lot of promises, but I sad to say, I think they didn't quite deliver. If you see the annual report, so they talk about, I mentioned it in there, wow, got so many jobs in India, how many billion it's worth and all, but even Mumbai, they had difficulties. And it's sad, I'm not saying it's a good thing or what, it's quite sad that things didn't work out for them,
Scomi Energy is affected by volatile crude oil prices, while Scomi Engineering hasn't had much luck in the rail industry. Looking at what happened in KL, in Brazil, in
Even
India.
Putrajaya, Monorail,
Yes.
Penang, yeah.
And then, in your story, you mentioned that despite this, they are actually looking for opportunities in new markets like China. What's the plan?
You see, if you get an investor with deep pockets who comes in, I think you can beef things up and just take over engineering, take it to China. There are a lot of, Monorail is it's quite hot, actually,
Yep.
So yeah, you can just revive the company quite easily. I don't think it's that difficult. It's about getting jobs and getting some money in, that's it. So I think one of the guys I spoke to said quite clearly that there was no capital injection by the shareholders. So that is why it had difficult times.
But is it going to be an issue with investors because they are already going through so much trouble,
Yeah, of
and yet
course.
they are looking at
Of course. If you're an
expanding
investor,
overseas?
would
Yeah,
you put money in? You're not sure,
definitely not. I'll be very,
Yeah,
very.
you see,
skeptical.
it's the management in the end. Whether you trust them, you'll put money. If you don't put money. So this new guy, Sammy Sir, whatever, we don't know him, you see.
Okay.
So maybe if he does bring in investors, they will trust him and they'll know him.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Age Weekly at all good newsstands.